Okay, so are you ready for another episode of Batman the Animated Series? You better be, because it's about to start. Now, is there a little smudge on my camera? Looks a lot of focus. Anyway, uh, today we're going to watch Feet of Clay Part 1 and 2. So we're actually going to watch two episodes. This is the introduction to the animated series of Clayface, who, like Mr. Freeze that we saw last time, he's kind of a little more of a, what at this point would have been considered kind of a goofy Silver Age kind of villain, when Batman was doing a lot of sci-fi type stories. So it wasn't unusual for him to fight a guy who had to live at sub-zero temperatures or a guy who could shapeshift. Now, the original version of Matt Hagen, who was actually the second Clayface, he was a guy who had accidentally discovered like a pool of protoplasm that if he exposed himself to the protoplasm, it would turn him into Clayface. And he had to like kind of constantly recharge and expose himself to this protoplasm anytime he wanted to become Clayface again. And this version is a little different because they wanted to more explore the idea that maybe this guy doesn't want to be a monster, which would be much more dramatic, right? So this character that we're going to see here is actually a combination of the original Clayface, who was an actor who went nuts and was wanting to kill the person and the people making a remake of one of his classic movies. Even in the 1930s, that was a problem. And then the shape shifting with the Matt Hagen and the name of the Matt Hagen Clayface, and then the Preston Payne Clayface, who was more the sort of disfigured monster, and he didn't actually have shape shifting powers; he just melted people. Gross. So they basically took elements of all three of those clay faces and rolled them into this one, which I think is probably the best version of the character. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the episode. Warner Brothers logo that turns into a blimp, and we're panning down to Gotham City. There's our shifty-eyed henchman blowing up the bank. So for those of you who don't know, the title sequence here is actually based on the first footage that was produced in association with Batman the Animated Series. It was not even quite a pilot. It was just like a little short, like a proof of concept kind of thing that had a pretty small budget. You can actually find it as a bonus feature on the DVDs, and you can even find it on YouTube, if you're so inclined. Never gets old. Okay. And we're back to having a title card. And the Laughing Theater mask looks kind of like the new Batman Adventures era of the Joker, doesn't it? Gotham Island Tramway. Nowadays, they'd probably do all that lettering in the computer. But that old hand-drawn lettering they'd have in the old cartoons, it kind of had some charm to it, didn't it? This is the first appearance of Lucius Fox on this show. If you're only familiar with this character from the Christopher Nolan movies, you're going to be disappointed. I think that's Paul Winfield that does his voice. But Lucius is never really given a lot to do on the show, unfortunately. And I don't know why they redesigned the character from how he looked in the comic book. They made him more plump and balding. Gave him a mustache. He doesn't have glasses. He doesn't have the gray about the temples. Like,
who else? You were the one who said he was trying to take over the company. Yeah, inside the truth. Once you give these things to the DA, he'll be under indictment before he can change his side. Yeah, but I won't. You see, Lucius, the reason I want this is to destroy. And now that you want, you won't be needed. Bruce, what's going on here? Let's just say I'm accepting your resignation, Mr. Fox.
run, Lucius. Morgan Freeman would not have fallen for this nonsense. I'm just saying.
Let's finish fast before we have the long.
If anything, the people making the Nolan movies probably took more influence for Lucius from the character in the episode The Mechanic. We'll get to that one eventually. So just in case you weren't sure that that guy was not really Bruce Wayne, here comes Batman. I like the thug in the powder blue suit. That's very sharp. This guy looks like he'd be like a skeevy Mater D. Hey, you landed right next to that lever. There you go. Do something with the lever. Batman should not be having this much of a hard time fighting a Mater D. That's more like it. Uh-oh. Look out. Butters is behind you. And they say Batman never uses guns. He just doesn't follow the instructions. Well. You know Batman's concerned about Lucius, but he can't hear him for the cops.
Cover me. There you are. Don't move.
Gangbuster, Matt Hagen. Hey, look at the water tower. That's where Yakko, Warner, and Dot live. Or Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. This guy is kind of like the confidant for Matt Hagen in this episode. Personally, I always kind of saw these two as having sort of this homoerotic relationship. You could read it into it, but it's not necessarily made like obvious. Just how I read it.
Face cream? You used up your last job yet? No!
Yikes.
Now, see? Wore off. Look! I can't fix it anymore!
And you can see news clippings about Hagen's disfigurement on the mirror. Honestly, without the makeup, he looks kind of like Preston Payne. That's kind of what Preston Payne looked like in the comics.
I was lucky I could hang on to that much. You pulled out on me. I had to, man. If I didn't, you wouldn't have it now.
I like Hagen's theme. It's good.
You can't go on like this, man. You hurt all the time now.
So at this point, the
No.
cream that Hagen's using, it's kind of like the protoplasm in the pool that I was talking about from the Silver Age comic. He needs to apply it constantly to be able to mold his face back to its former form.
Only 24 hours. Then start so long.
He does look kind of like Rock Hudson, doesn't he? Again, I might be reading too much into it, but you could definitely interpret it that way. Well, great. Now you got a broken window, dude.
Having to keep going back to Daggett for more of that stuff. Doing him a lousy thing he wants to cut. You're right. I can't. I'll have to find a way to get lots of this stuff on my own.
There's that name again, Daggett, the guy who's trying to do a hostile takeover on Wayne Enterprises, and he's the one who makes the stuff that Hagen's having to use to shapeshift back into his former self. There's Powder Blue and Maitre D.
Now, I asked you a question. Now.
I like how they're giving these guys like little gimmicks, like Germs, the Maitre D guy. You see him wiping down the doorknob with the hanky, and this guy here with the headphones.
Relax. The guy was there. You don't even know him. Thank heaven. But Hagen has disappointingly once swung.
They must have seen this episode when they were working on the Dark Knight trilogy, because Daggett winds up being a character in The Dark Knight Rises. I think they changed his first name, though. In the animated series, he's Roland Daggett. I think it was something else in the movie.
I want him to.
That's Ed Asner is the voice.
The master of the sky.
Daggett reminds me a lot of Norman Osborn from the Spider-Man comics.
Yeah. Not easy finding somebody who can change the way you look. You need the prophet searching. This is the only place in the world. When his supply runs out, he'll come to us.
They even draw Daggett to look a little bit like Ed Asner. And of course, infamously, Ed Asner would return on Superman, the animated series, and Justice League as Granny Goodness. Hagen is desperate for this stuff.
Hold it right there. Turn around. Real slow. Step into the light so you can see. I'm looking for Mr. Daggett. I don't believe we've met. My name is Wayne. Bruce Wayne.
I don't know why that would stop them from ventilating him.
Wayne. Yeah, right. Sure.
I don't even believe it. Well, imagine being a junkie and seeing heroin going down the drain like that. That's pretty much what Hagen's mindset is right now.
Come on. We're going for a little ride. I know what that means.
But you can see like how at this early stage he still has to like physically mold his face. And they set up that Hagen was a master of disguise and was like kind of like Lon Chaney with the makeup and stuff before his accident.
Let's get it.
Let's kill him with irony. And you can see his suit has changed color, almost as if it's like, oh, they went back to blue. That's too bad. That would have been cool. Like he was starting to meld with the suit and everything. Oh, the drippy effect is so gross. Ah. And back to our cool Tim Burton-y sort of Batcave. Played a little chin music. It felt really familiar to my knuckles. Bell Raymond.
Raymond Bell.
Of course. I'm reading it backwards.
There is a pocket radio tuned in small old Awesome. What am I to do about the police? They shall be back. I can't keep telling them out. What police? What are you talking about? I suggested you consult the morning papers.
That means a little out of the loop, I guess.
So, Mr. Intent on accepting his life. But that's impossible.
I've been dressed as a giant bat this entire time.
Armed and dangerous. Proceed with extreme caution. Over.
Pretty sneaky, Batman.
Stay up. The alarm. Wait, jerks. That's it. Keep it up. We have to turn the point so far.
I like the animated series Batman. I like the Burton one best because I like how it's literally shaped like the bat signal. But this one's pretty cool too. There's no way Batman can fly to the other side of this tunnel. Dirt! It's got that kind of sound to it that's almost like a TIE fighter. I like it. Bell's car is another example of how a lot of stuff just looks kind of 1930s in this show. This is great. Where he picks up the car with the bat ears. He doesn't really need the car. He just needs the bug. If this weren't a children's show, he'd probably be like literally peeing his pants right now. Maybe even pooping his pants. Yeah. It's like torturing him.
Wayne! Bruce Wayne! You lying sneaks. That answer. Okay. It wasn't Wayne. Then who was it?
Kind of makes me think of on the Spider-Man cartoon,
Who
uh,
was the first name?
where he saw the guy disguised as Peter Parker, and he's like, "That's the one person that I know
Who?
would have to be impersonated because I am Peter Parker." Huh, what a wuss! And remember, Batman does not enjoy a friendly relationship with the police at this point in the show. He is definitely in full double secret vigilante mode. I'm pretty sure that height would still kill him. Maybe something just got lost in translation as far as the animation goes. I know this guy thinks that I tried to kill him, so I try not to startle him.
Lucius, it's okay. It's me, Bruce. Just wait till only you can get the answers I need.
I know you think, but I definitely didn't try to murder you. Morgan Freeman would have listened to him.
Stop it. Matt, are you in there?
And we'll have continuing update on this late-breaking story. The arrest of millionaire industrialist Bruce Wayne at the scene of an attempt on the life of Wayne executive Lucius Fox. This is Summer Cleveland, WGBS News at 11, live in Gotham County Jail.
Matt, it's me, Penny.
I'm kind of surprised it's taken them so long to get to the actual Clayface reveal, but I guess they definitely wanted to have it as that end of the episode cliffhanger. To be continued. But yeah, I remember seeing the teasers and some of the commercials where they showed Clayface, and man, I just thought he looked really impressive. Like in the comics, Matt Hagen just looked kind of like this lumpy, kind of shapeless clay guy, but in this one, they really made him into a monster. He just looked so cool. So Clayface actually has a pretty interesting history in terms of adaptations before this, because he actually did appear on the 1966 Batman television series, which not a lot of people know. But if you watch the opening credits in the shots where they have the villains walking towards Batman and Robin, Clayface is one of the villains in the background there. Now, I'm guessing they just didn't have the budget to pull off Clayface on the series, which is why they never did him on the series proper. But they did at least acknowledge him by having him in the background as those villains were marching towards Batman and Robin. And then, of course, he appeared on the Filmation New Adventures of Batman, which that one itself was very heavily influenced by Kevin Altieri. That guy's awesome. But yeah, the New Adventures of Batman was very much influenced by the comics of the time period that Clayface came from. Batmite was a regular character on that series. So.
Imagine Lucius Fox hitting a party, and he's been what 10 years now, sir. When I'm present, he was a candy job. Whoever is right. They'll say no. Have to be lying. I know. Get the truth.
Well, he thinks he murdered the guy that they hired. He's wrong.
Move it, Lucas. I want all this stuff out of here by sunrise. Come on. You don't have to do this. You made it come back before. You can do it again. Come. From this? Face it, Teddy. Matt Hagen is history. This time for good. He's never coming back. My contact on the board says there is in fact so far. Good. But I'm afraid we still have quite a list to clear. Sooner or later, I will take control of Wayne Enterprises.
That was even like his main goal when he was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Network will take me years to build up. Till my takeover plan will have to be revised. Now that our actor friend Aiden is no longer available. Okay, Mr. Davis, who do you want me to take out now? I want everything wrapped up by the time I take that shot. We're going to settle the Fox matter once and for all. But Mr. Davis, he's in the hospital. All those sick people.
Ooh, germs. Oh, just a look of rage and disgust.
But man, you thought it was all over for you once before, and you were wrong then. You know, when you had your accident. Of course, I thought it was.
The animation in this episode is some of the best, and I know, like, I keep slobbering all over Kevin Altieri and how awesome he is. But this episode is particularly good with the animation. I think this is that, what's the name of the animation company that worked on this one? TMS? Bruce Timm's always slobbering all over them in commentaries. Not that I blame him. I mean, even a shot like this, which is just a guy talking to a clay monster.
But hey, it worked. I mean, you had your biggest hits after the accident. Some of the best parts I ever.
Flash Gordon, and some sea captain, a gangster.
You changed it. And you didn't use your hands this time. You didn't even try. You did it automatically. Like a reflex or something. You know what this means, don't you? It doesn't have to be over. You can go on. We can go on.
We can go on. I might just be reading too much into it.
Wow.
History will record they were the best of friends.
How? So they'll sell in my box. It's some kind of miracle. What are you doing? No. You broke my concentration. Won't work. Don't you see? It's too hard. It's like tensing a muscle. I can't keep it up. Career, life, it is yours. Like a navigation. I'm not an actor anymore. I'm not even I'm back.
Working on a custom project while I'm watching this.
Once I know who it is,
It's the new head I'm making for this Red Hood figure.
I can walk right up to him and bang. Goodbye, Mr. Dick.
They'll never suspect it's me in my old-timey doctor outfit with the headband mirror. Almost looks like they accidentally colored him Caucasian there. It might just be the lighting. I love that funky shuriken that Batman has in a lot of these earlier episodes. Like, I'm guessing originally that was going to be like their equivalent of a batarang, but maybe they didn't realize it was a lot easier to animate the more traditional shaped batarang than the funky shuriken shaped one. But I do like that shuriken shaped one. I think that's pretty cool. And it definitely works better for something like that where, you know, Batman is pinning a pillow to the wall.
All these viruses and bacteria. I could be infected. No, the man who impersonated Bruce Wayne. I want his name. I know. I don't know who. Crimson fever. Lousy and flop. No cure. The name.
I love the way he threatens him with this jar.
He became Matt Hagen, the movie actor. It's the truth, I swear. Then how does the fool fight? He's good, but no actor, no makeup is that. I don't know. Oh, you're crazy. Last chance.
He is a guy in a bat outfit.
He had something nobody else had. He could. Nice going, Batman. But I'll take it from here.
Seawater for analysis.
This is my talent. Just a moment.
The way Batman's ears kind of bend up there. How gross would that be? To have somebody pull off a part of their flesh and just stick it in your face as a gag. And remember, this guy's already like germophobic. Now he's having to suck on Hagen's cheek. Ugh, gross. And they'll reveal in later episodes that like parts of Hagen can detach from him and still maintain sentience. Like it's still a living part of him, and they can even like create their own identities. Crazy as it is. Man, they had to have their animation at the absolute best on this episode. To do a character like Clayface, you got to give it 110%. And when he shapeshifts into metal, like it doesn't just look like metal, it's actual metal. So all these hammers and claws, just as deadly as they would be if they were actual metal. But Batman lands in his chest and he's just soft clay there. There was actually a fourth Clayface that had the same powers as Hagen, and she was female. And I think like this version of Hagen, that one was also like permanently stuck in her clay form, and she wound up getting involved romantically with Preston Payne, and they had a baby that was the fifth Clayface. Now, of course, once we had this version on the animated series, this was the only version of Clayface really that anybody cared about. He kind of became the one that was the definitive version of the character. So eventually, what they wound up doing in the comics is they brought back the original Clayface, Basil Carlo, and gave him the powers and appearance of this version of Clayface, which to me makes sense because he's the one that used to be an actor.
Not even a Batman can stop me, Teddy. And that means gadgets. Man, please. You don't want to do anything crazy. Why don't you try to get some shut?
Trying to talk some sense into his friend.
Don't you dare patronize me!
Cooked him a nice meal, and he's just
I don't need food.
being all abusive. Aww, poor guy. He just wants to take care of his best friend. It's sad. Clayface really is a tragic character.
I've acquired the pathway to the presence. Good. Because now I'm sure the thing I thought was is this condition to have tragic results. An experiment conducted by Roman Dad. People apparently transforms unconsciously sometimes. Like a reflex action.
Galaxy Broadcasting. So that's a nice little Easter egg there. Galaxy Broadcasting was the communications conglomerate that in the 1970s bought out the Daily Planet. And Clark Kent, for most of the 70s and at least part of the 80s, had become like a TV broadcaster for Galaxy Communications. WGBS, I think, was the name of the station that he broadcasted on.
Amazing stuff, Raleigh. I see we have some questions in our audience. I'd like to ask Mr. Daggett about the rumors I've heard. I hear he's selling Renew You through direct marketing because stores won't carry it due to its harmful side effects.
Well, that's
What about the addictive properties of Renew You, Mr. Daggett? How much
Summer gets her.
can stop using it without horrible pain?
no, I mean, that's just not so.
Why don't you show them what an overdose can do, Daggett? Why don't you tell them
about me?
These are Gotham City people. They've seen it all. But they ain't seen nothing like this. You gotta remember, like, within the past week, Batman has had to deal with a guy who can't exist above sub-zero temperatures, and he's had to deal with a terrorist organization, and he's had to deal with a gigantic bat-like creature. So, for Batman, this is just a Wednesday. Oh, that's a great shot. And he just lands in his back and makes that big old crater. It's enough to knock Daggett free, though. Yeah, run away, you little chicken. You ain't gonna make it far.
Hey, listen to me. There is nothing telling me now. Clayface.
Oh, so gross.
See, I figured out how to manage this thing pretty good.
It's just such a great design. I like how he's got that giant hand planted in his chest. And he's just gonna absorb it back into himself, and oh, that's so gross. I'm thinking about the Preston Payne version of Clayface when he was in the Arkham Asylum graphic novel, and Batman being like, "Don't touch me!" I wouldn't want this one to touch me either. Yuck. But that's why he's putting all those videotapes in there earlier. This is the trap that he set for Clayface. He's figured out about that reflex action. So he's presenting him with all the different characters that he's played.
What are you doing? Stop it! Look at what you used to be. No, no, turn them off. You can't live with us. Let me help you find the cure. No, baby, God, make you stop haunting me.
This scene here, this is just mind blowing. Like, you see this, it sticks with you like forever. Plan worked too well. But I like that Batman was actually trying to help the guy. I like that aspect of Batman is that, like, I think that's the real reason that you have Batman having that whole sort of he shapeshifts into Bruce Wayne for just a second so that the cops can see it and realize, oh yeah, this guy was probably just impersonating Bruce Wayne in the first place. But yeah, Batman is a guy, and I keep saying this, he's a man of great compassion, and he wants to help people.
I'm just trying to know it wasn't really Bruce Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Fogg. All charges against Wayne have, of course, been dropped, and Roland Daggett remains in custody.
I think this. Tremendous. Look, a piece of clay left behind when we took Katie's body away. Watch. Electricity has no effect on it. Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if the body they took to the war was only a shell. Don't forget, first and foremost, Idiot was an actor. He said it himself after. He called it a scene, maybe the greatest scene of his career. See you around, man.
He's just heartbroken.
That seems so real. It fooled us all.
How could you laugh at him like that? Actors, they're just all ego, aren't they? I believe that was, okay, let me run it back. Always, why are you going back? So yeah, that was, Ed Begley Jr. was Germs. Wow, how about that? I had no idea that was Ed Begley Jr. He's doing a voice on it. So, you know, like with the accent and everything. He later appears in, it was Brock Peters that was Lucius Fox. Okay. They should have drawn him to look more like Brock Peters. Brock Peters looked more like Lucius in the comics. Ron Perlman, of course, is Clayface. Dick Gautier was Teddy. So he has an interesting history with Batman. If you can go and look it up on YouTube, there's a PSA with Batgirl on it about equal pay for men and women. The federal equal pay law. So if you just look up Batgirl PSA, you should find it. So they brought back Burt Ward to play Robin, and they brought back Yvonne Craig to play Batgirl. But I guess they couldn't get Adam West. Maybe he didn't want to do it. Maybe it was a scheduling thing. Maybe they weren't going to give him enough money. But Dick Gautier actually plays Batman in that. So that's interesting. And of course, Ed Asner, I already mentioned him playing Daggett. But I had no idea that was Ed Begley Jr. as Germs. He'll have a bigger part in the episode Joker's Favor, in which he'll play Charlie Collins. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. And also, Ed Asner was in Batman Forever, where he played Stickley. So, oh, did I accidentally go to the next episode? Well, we're not going to watch it yet. That'll be tomorrow's episode. So the next episode will be It's Never Too Late, and that's one that does not have a main villain in it. It's one where it's just kind of generic gangsters in that episode. But it's still a good episode, so don't miss it. All right, so that's it for this episode of Batman the Animated Series. If you enjoyed watching it with me, please make sure to like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. If you want to catch these when they go live, make sure you hit the little bell, and that'll warn you whenever I'm actually going live with an episode, and you can join me and watch along. You can watch it on HBO Max like I'm doing right now, or you can watch it on your own DVDs or Blu-rays if you own those, or you can also buy and rent the episodes, I believe, on YouTube and Amazon Prime. So there's all kinds of ways that you can watch this show, and you can watch it along with me. If you miss part of the episode, part of my episode, I mean, you can always replay it later on, and that way you can start from the very beginning and watch along with me. So yeah, next episode will be It's Never Too Late, and then the next episode after that will be The Joker's Favor. So I'm looking forward to that one. Anyway, we'll talk to you next time. Bye.